Welcome back to the original JLU build refresher series. I guess this is part 3. So last time we got in wide track 6mm each side and rear steer axle, servo, got everything working, but no 4-wheel steer brains yet. So we're going to put in ESC, the Lizard, we're going to put in a Surpass, I'm going to put in a 12-tooth pinion, pull out the metal ESC tray, shock mount, and cut this one up. And then I've got the spur gear in here already, the metal spur gear, so I'm going to put just the transmission metal gears from TrueRC in. So that should get everything up and running, and then I'll use my Flysky GT5 remote and get the 4-wheel steer working. And then at that point I think I can fit the bumper on the rear, which I think is going to be the big clearance issue on the rear, minus the fenders, and kind of look at the reality of that and some shock options, height options, and see if I'm going to have to maybe save these mudslingers for a different build. I don't mind cutting this body, but I don't want to cut it up beyond recognition necessarily, and I think that bumper being so wide may be the deciding factor. So anyways, I'm going to get to it. Just wanted to do a quick shot here. Got the motor installed, and this is only my second Surpass, and I'm using this 12-tooth brass pinion. So the other one I installed had a set screw and a larger pinion, 15-tooth. So anyways, I was just going to share, this is how I pressed it on the Surpass motor shaft, and you can only get it to the end of the shaft. It needs to go in further, so I had this little spacer here and this M3, I think 2mm, so then I just slipped that over the top and then was able to press the pinion on a little bit further, so you get good engagement with the spur gear. So that may help some people out. I was struggling with a good way to press it on without damaging anything of the pinion or the motor, so that worked out pretty well. All right, got it all installed and back together. Not really any problems. What's strange is I had to clearance the frame for the motor on this one right here at this edge. I didn't have to do that on my other build. The difference is this is a Trio center skid where that one's a GPM, so maybe that GPM is a little bit wider. Whatever the case, the mount's the same. The 2FM JLU mount is the same on both. So yeah, other than that, I had to cut out the ESC plastic tray, and I had it running out the top just to kind of see how tall that would be, if I could bend those down. But it's fairly stiff right here coming out of the motor where they're shrink wrapped up, and then after that they're really flexible silicone. So I flipped it and I'm running it down like I'm doing on the other build. So I got all ready to put in the brains and drive this thing, and looking at it, I really don't have any good spots to mount things where I'm thinking, so I think this is a good opportunity to go ahead and install the kicks sliders. So these are kind of a new style, all metal, and then they've got these plates that they mount to. So I'm hoping this kind of plate surface will give me some side areas to mount to. And then here is the kicks bumper for the JLU, the new one. So it's got some nice shackles, it's got the post, and they blind mount, and then you put a plate on so they slip in, and you can slip in LEDs the same way from the back, and then you screw the plate on, and so there's no screws, so it's really nice. And you've got your shackle mounts, of course. So this is the super wide piece that I'm thinking I'm gonna hit with these tires on the rear, because this is I want to say as wide as the Jeep body, so it's wider than stock. You can get a sense of it here, so it's going to kind of stick out to where the fenders are. So I have to pop that on and see. And then I've got the matching kicks front stinger that's metal, mounts the same way. It's got the red shackles, so this will have full kicks metal accoutrement for the sliders and bumpers. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this stuff on, see if I can find a home for electronics, and then with that bumper on, and kind of see what the rear steer is going to do with these tires. Alright, got these metal sliders and bumpers on. These are awesome looking. This front bumper, I think I'm going to tweak it a little bit. It's got one more post, I can slide it back, but I think I'm going to have to Dremel off a little of the plastic mount because it's got those kind of large, thick head screws. So that'll kind of tuck that back a little bit better. It'd be nice if I could sit all the way back. I don't know any way to modify that existing JLU mount to tuck this back. At least with this bumper. But the sliders are on. They've got adjustability to kind of clock them forward and backwards, and you can mount these plates, you can flip them in reverse, and they'll mount either way since the transmission's symmetrical. But this is the way they had them mounted on their photos. And then the rear bumper, really nice as well. And it really puts some weight on this chassis, so it just drops this thing down. So definitely these shocks aren't going to work with these very light pressure springs. I don't think these shocks will work at all because they allow it to compress so much. So it's either going to be, I think next I'm going to look at shocks that may raise it up and then see if we can turn anything without flexing into the bumper or whatever. Otherwise, I may be looking at a different set of tires on here. I think part of the reason is it's so wide track that when you turn, you get into the fenders. You're not tucked in at all. I mean, it's a combination of several things causing the issues, but pull this out and show you the inner mount. So now I'm definitely going to have some spots to stick that receiver. Got those plates on the side, so that's kind of nice. I don't think I'm going to put fenders in this one, fender liners, so that works out pretty well to mount things. So I guess moving forward, I'm going to look at getting some electronics in there and then some shocks maybe, or tires. Alright, I dug out some shocks here. I picked up these TrueRC, which are the same as the kicks or the racing internal spring. And then I've got some of these hot racing emulsion shocks. So I think for this I'm going to use the TrueRC because they're quite a bit longer. They're like 37 millimeters, I believe. So they're, I don't know what the stocks are, maybe like 30, I don't know, 32. I don't know, but they're quite a bit longer, so that may give me a little more the height that I'm needing here. So I'll get those swapped out for these telescoping shocks that are on here right now. So I'm going to get that installed and see if that affects the clearance a little bit. I want to stop and show these before I installed them. Putting them together, you need to know that the ball studs are they're not all four the same. You get two tops and two bottoms, and the tops have a spacer basically formed into the ball stud, so it's thicker, and then the bottom is symmetrical. So you can see here at the frame points on all of my shocks, I've got a spacer added to bring those out in line with the axle. So that's kind of a nice feature. That's cool that they did that. There's no like additional springs for different spring rates. This is kind of a, this doesn't feel too stiff and it doesn't feel too soft, so good kind of medium spring rate. But that would be nice if these had interchangeable springs. But it's a lot longer than the Hot Racing air shocks. They're the same length as those other oil emulsion I just had. But anyways, let me get these on. Okay, man, made a lot of progress here. As you can see, got it all back together. Got these TrueRC / Kicks Racing / Yeah Racing shocks on there. Frame mounted, fairly vertical, not too extreme. Trying to get a little height. So as you can see, I've got a lot of lift now. I cut the fender in the back pretty much even with this one, trimmed a little more, rounded this, took about 2 millimeters off the bottom of the front. And as you can see, I was able to pull this bumper up. I basically got rid of the JLU brackets that come down. So just take those off and then you're left with just basically the bracket for the deadbolt. So I put that in and then I actually moved the bumper out a few posts. So it's on its outer peg. You can see all that distance right there. So instead of pulling it back, I actually pulled it back out since the whole mount moved in. But man, that is tucked in just perfectly now. So I've got all the electronics in and routed. I'm very happy with it. So the Club 5 kind of nests on the sliders on some double-sided. There wasn't a good flat spot, but it's fine right there. It's looped up out of the way. The receiver cord I taped. Again, I want to make sure it doesn't hit that bell of the Surpass motor. So it's taped to come up out of the way. And flip it around here. And then this side, double-sided the Lizard down to the slider. And then I use a little strip of double side on the Bluetooth adapter. So that's vertical. Receiver, of course, is here. All the plugs come out nicely. I took actually the motor right under the back of the battery tray, those motor cables, and then they come out right here and are tie wrapped to the motor or to the battery mount. So that's super clean, and there's just a little bit of slack right here left over. And then of course the rear servo slack is taken up right here. And then, the battery comes here, so everything lays down really nice. Most of the wiring is on this side. So I'm really, really happy with how that all turned out. These bumpers look great. Got the body clearance I was looking for. Got crazy monster height, but that kind of works with this 4-wheel steer setup. It feels like a monster truck. So let me move this over to the side here. Let me get the battery plugged up and let's get this thing turned on. Let's get the hood pinned in. So I think I'm at the point to do a little painting now for the other body, now that I kind of know where my fitment lies. Let's bring this right around the front again. So right now I've got it plugged up to the channel 3, so I've got the variations of the 4-wheel steer. So right now I've just got a typical 4-wheel steer, which is insane. 3-point turnaround like crazy. So then I can dial it, let me get to crawl mode here, and I'll dial it to crab crawl. That's nuts. This is too cool. Alright, and let's go to just rear steer. Get back in frame here. I'll tell you what, I really like that 4-wheel. So the other option is to hook that steering into another channel, channel 6, one of the dials. I've seen TrueRC, that's how he does it, so he can just kind of steer the rear on its dial on its own, instead of having it react with the front steering. That way you only have it when you want it. But I don't know, I kind of like this. This is crazy. So I think this may be the stopping point for this part of the build update here, and then I'll get going on the body and pretty much finish this up, get some lights in there, and give you guys a little reveal. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this bad boy. It's definitely coming along.